And Parsons City Commission to order. If you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. Item 2 is prayer. Pastor Alexander Knott from First Presbyterian Church.
Good evening. Please join me for a word of prayer. Almighty God, we give you thanks for this community where we live and serve together. Thank you for the leaders and decision makers. Thank you for the citizens. Thank you for those who protect us and keep us safe. Guide each of us as we seek to be good stewards of all you have given us. Guide us as we seek to make this community a home for all who live here. Be present tonight as decisions are discussed and made. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alexander. Item 3 is approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to make one correction to the agenda prior to approval, and that is the regular session should be June 2nd, incorporating the agenda for May 20th.
Yes, good. Thank you.
Mayor, I had something come in late today, so could I throw it on there as
Yes,
well?
you can.
That'd be under new business, and it would be consideration for authority to execute a contract to provide for 3 required procedural reports and studies to determine railroad quiet zone sufficiency. I know that's a mouthful.
Okay. How about just railroad quiet zones?
That'd be fine.
Thank you.
I also had an item that in the consent docket, item K, would be interested in a little bit more discussion about that item.
When we get to that, I'll go down through each one, and we'll stop at each one for discussion if there's any additional. With the correction of the date and the addition of B on new business contract for railroad quiet zones, and further discussion on K, distribution of the special alcohol funds. Can I have approval of agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Cruz?
Yes. Item 4 is public comment. Since we have something on the consent docket for discussion and vote as far as anti-tether, if anyone has anything to discuss on the anti-tether, I would like them to please hold their comments until we get to that item, which is under new business. So if there's any other discussion to the commissioners besides anti-tether, all we'd like you to do is stand up, state your name to the podium, state your name, address, and you have your 5 minutes.
Good evening, gentlemen. Wade Brown, 1716 Chest Avenue here in Parsons, Kansas. One of the topics I'm going to discuss, of course, is going to be anti-tether, but I'll wait till later on that. A couple of things I just wanted to ask a question about is, at the meeting this past Thursday, actually, Commissioner Goddard brought up an interesting idea, and I've been doing some research, and I told him I'll provide him some information when we come to that. He asked the idea of opening up Sunday liquor sales, and I've been doing some research on that, and it actually does generate a good amount of revenue, especially with people who are driving outside of town. I've been talking to a lot of citizens, and they feel the same way, that they do happen to travel as far as St. Paul and even as far as Missouri to go outside. And that when that comes to that kind of revenue, we're losing that revenue outside the city. We need to start looking to ways to generate that and keep it here at home. Whether people agree with it or don't agree with it is do tell, but we need to figure out a way to generate more revenue, whether it's liquor sales or open up a certain amount of hours or something like that, because right now the city's budget is, is kind of tight, and the city manager expresses that a lot, that we only have so much limited amount of money, especially with item K when it comes to the special taxes and things like that. We can only generate so much revenue instead of going after people on their property tax. I really want you to take in consideration, especially with these budget talks, when it comes to the idea of whether it is the city has to make the decision or the county. But those talks need to be addressed and need to be looked at in a serious manner if I do hopefully actually build it.
I have a question. Can you quantify the numbers?
No, I'm still doing my research, but probably more likely I will have information by the next commission meeting. I promise I'll bring that up here. Also, I do plan on in the next few weeks actually going door to door and talking to the citizens. My goal objective is to get to about 300 to 350 people. And this time I'm actually gonna, if you guys have any questions you might want me to put down there, please let me know. I will address that to the citizens. But I actually will have an open survey so I can actually get the names and the people. That way you can actually see not just me speaking the names, but actually see these are the people that actually are interested in it, whether they're for or against it. I feel that the citizens should have a voice. A lot of them can't come to these meetings, and I'll feel more comfortable just going door to door and talking to them and finding out what they think.
Thank you, Em. Any other public comment? Jim?
I'm very forgetful, and will you tell me one more time, you know, what we're voting on, tethering, and is it both dogs? Is it only dogs? Or would the dogs be the only ones affected by a yes vote?
At this point, yes. We'll have further discussion on that, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comment? We'll move on to the consent docket. Item 5. Consent docket, item A, City Commission minutes, April 15th, May 2nd, May 6th, 16th, and the 30th. Item B is accounts payable appropriations ordinance number 0115. Total amount of $302,333.10.
Got a couple of questions there.
Okay.
On page 85, if I can find that again, I wrote it down. Okay, A5, the Four-State Swine Show. What's that on here? Where is the Four-State Swine Show?
Jim, if you'd come to the podium, please.
Sorry to make you walk all the way up here just to answer that, but I was just curious.
Into its fourth or fifth year. It's held at the county fairgrounds, and we actually track some room nights out of that, both for judges and for competitors. It's similar, you know, being a Chicago boy, I'm not going to know exactly, but it's similar to the judging that they would have at county fairs. We've helped them out for 4 years now, and it creates a nice little event down in our fairgrounds off peak season.
Very good. All right, thank you. And the other question I had is on page A8, and it was $40 for mowing the arboretum. Did you get the whole arboretum mowed for $40?
No, that was only for a couple hours. And it was just the entrance and in front of the building.
Okay.
Kenny called, and there was no way we were going to get crews down there with everything that was going on, and so he took it upon himself.
Okay. Well, that's just
To have it mowed.
a real deal. Okay. All right, that was it.
Item C, accounts payable appropriation ordinance number 0116. Total amount of $180,239.89. D is the bid date, project 2013-08 demolition site clearance. Set June 25th, 2013. Date had been changed to 10 a.m. Item E is bid date, project 2013-09, asphalt street projects, improvements. Thursday, June 13th, 2013, 10 o'clock. Receive bids. Item F is pay request number 12, EPA compliance order of amount of $5,842.50. That is a compliance order through March 30th of 2013. G, pay request number 1, wastewater backup power, HCR Engineering, Request number one for design services, $7,028.47 for completed March 30th, 2013. H is pay request number one, project number 2012-07, manhole mapping and inspection, ADS Environmental Services, pay request number one for the amount of $33,800. Services through March 12th to April 16th, 2013. Item I, surplus property, Parsons Fire Department. Since Fire Department received new hose, they're wanting to declare surplus property on the remaining hose. Any questions on that? That will be going to Altamont Fire Department. Item J is transfer of property agreements. That is also related to Parsons Fire Department. Item K is distribution of special alcohol funds. 5 proposals were received and a request of $61,355. The balance of the fund was $15,611.51. After review, the committee awarded 4 out of the 5, which totaled $15,550.
My concern on that is just the zero funds recommended for the Labette Center for Mental Health, and I would prefer not to cut them off or zero them out like that. Just today was that White House conference on mental health, trying to call attention to the stigma of people with mental health issues, and or trying to alleviate that stigma, and to not fund that one because it deals with treatment rather than prevention. To me, I'm not sure that, I just disagree with that myself. I feel like maybe we could have just divided that $15,000 evenly across the 5 rather than funding 4 partially and 1, leaving Labette Center for Mental Health out of it entirely. I know if you divide it evenly, $3,000 is really just a drop in the bucket for Labette Center for Mental Health, but it's just sort of the symbolism of zeroing it out that really troubles me, and I would prefer to see something there rather than zeros. But
I also have a comment. As I was reading through these, the only one that dealt with real prevention was the 503 program. Mm-hmm. All the other ones were intervention. And with 503, you are getting a complete cross-section of the 503 school district. All the kids get this training in the prevention of bullying, alcohol, smoking, etc. And I just want to make sure that the money that was awarded to them will allow them to initiate the program, and as I understand it, it will. Is that correct?
When you're talking about the good behavior program?
This was the PSNH T&C.
Yeah, that's the good behavior program. That is a joint effort between the state hospital and the local school district, and it would bring to the school curriculum a good behavior, bad behavior, mainly good behavior rewards program that has been shown nationwide to have significant impact on individuals. Now, it's starting at a very young age. It would be at the pre-K, K, and 1-year-old, and then assuming things work the way the program has worked in the country, in large parts of the country, then next year they would be looking for funding to continue to track those first graders as they become second graders, which means another school would become involved. And the proposal as it's presented would get the curriculum established in the school district. And my understanding from the superintendent is that once it's established, the school will carry it on. So this is what these funds are for, is to get it established. When we sat down as a small review committee, and I think all of you in the room know that we have some serious issues with social, economic skills and behaviors, and it has a direct impact, a negative impact on our ability to bring new businesses, new industries to town. And it would appear where we really need to work hard is with the younger side of the ledger so that we can break those habits. And the DARE program does that. Yeah, it's a repetitive program, but it also has success. Now, the chief can talk about that better than I because he's intently involved in it. The preferred health program is exactly that. It would bring a program to town that would start helping parents learn how to deal with their youth, their kids, to break that habit of dependency. And I think if you look towards the Project 17 program that we're involved in, that's exactly what we're talking about, have to try and figure out how we can make things better. That program would I think, support a Project 17 type philosophy. The DARE program is very successful. How many students you average in a year? It's all fifth graders, isn't it?
No, we also do middle school.
And all the middle school?
Well, one class in middle school, like the seventh grade, so there's, a couple hundred kids.
Big Brothers Big Sisters, if you read the documents, which I assume you all did, they are introducing a new concept in their program, and they have had success after success after success. All of those provide statistics on how successful these programs can be, and it is at a lower age. It isn't for people that are already hooked on alcohol or drugs. It is programs that are trying to prevent or reduce the possibility of that. Labette Center for Mental Health, as I said last Thursday, provides a great deal of positive programs. They do not provide the programs that these other programs are providing now. We have no problem with you all set the policy anyway. We have no problem with you rearranging the numbers. We would hate to see a program cut short that we are attempting to get launched and move forward with. I wish we had all the money there is in the world, because Labette Center for Mental Health deserves to have funds for assistance with the treatment of those people that already have dependency. But there are other sources of funds for that. Are they immediately available without writing grants? I suppose not. And staff felt very strongly about the programs we did recommend. But again, it's your policy. If you take the programs and divide it by 5, you'd end up with $3,132 a program. Police department, we had the committee had cut pretty hard. They were only scheduled to get $1,750, so if you do the math, that's another $1,370 that we could divide to the others, so you might approach $4,000. We cut all the programs. If you look, we had a request for $60-some thousand, $61,355, and everyone that submitted proposals knew that we only had $15,611 to start, and so we were way behind the 8 ball to start with, way behind the 8 ball. And as I said, if we had the money, all of the proposals, including the 2 additional ones that PD submitted, would be great fundable programs, but he probably got cut those. So, we've made a recommendation. We're looking for your guidance and direction, and obviously we will modify where your direction takes us. Spatial alcohol funds, just like spatial parks funds, they have very specific statutes that guide the use of that money, and the statutes quoted in your memo. So we need to stay within those guidelines, and prevention is one of those authorized items.
I guess the thing that impressed me about the programs that were recommended for funding is that there was a lot of training involved, there were materials, et cetera, et cetera. The other one, the Labette Center for Mental Health, was all dedicated to one individual, and it all went to salary and fringe benefits.
It says two.
They actually have two trained individuals on.
Well, my concern, I guess, is just what I expressed, that they started out 4 years ago with 30,000, then dropped to 12, then to 9, then to 0, and it does kind of indicate at least on the surface, sort of a triage of what's important, whether it's the prevention, which that is very important, or whether it's treatment and hopefully cure. And if you're a little kid growing up in a home with say an alcoholic parent, then the treatment for that parent is pretty important to that little kid too. But I don't disagree that all of them are very important. I just hate to see that one zeroed out, and it would have been nice to have something there. You could take 10% away from each one and put about $1,600 toward Labette Center for Mental Health, and that would be something. However, it is such a small amount that it's probably insignificant and not worth making a big deal out of it, so I won't. But I just, I've expressed my thoughts on it, I guess, and I'll leave it at that.
Any other thoughts? Jeff, any other thoughts, comments? Okay, we'll move on to L, second annual Juneteenth celebration. June 14th, Freedom Day or Emancipation Day. Parade will be held June 15th from 21st in Appleton to Glenwood Park. Approve Glenwood Park and waive vendor fees for those two-day events. Item M is pay request number 2, wastewater backup power, HDR Engineering. Pay request number 2, design services for the amount of $8,631.14. Work completed through May 4th. And pay request number 13, EPA compliance order, HDR Engineering. Pay request number 12 for the amount of $9,916.82. Compliance order through May 4th, 2013.
Question, is that pay request number 13 or number 12?
It's 13.
That should be 13?
Sorry, I missed that one. O is pay request number 2, Main Street Tower Waterline Improvement. Olson Associates, pay request number 2 for engineering services for the amount of $5,475. Improvements through May 4th, 2013. P is Relay for Life, Forest Park through 2013. Relay for Life will be held June 7th through 8th, 2013. Approve the use of Forest Park and the street closure from 13th Street to Heacock. Q is Annual Play Day. Annual Play Day held in Forest Park June 8th, 2013. Just information only. Which ends the consent docket. Item 6, anti-tethering issue.
Do we need to
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve consent docket.
Second.
Commissioner Hoagland?
Yes.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes.
Commissioner Priest?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Cruz?
Yes. Item 6, new business, anti-tethering issue. Does anyone on the board would like to instruct the city attorney to prepare an anti-tethering ordinance? Does anyone want to make a motion to instruct the city attorney? Excuse me.
Okay. You wanted
Vita, I'm sorry. Vita, you wanted to be first on the agenda to speak on the anti-tether.
I did wish to.
Will you be able to go to the podium and state your name and address? Can you go to the podium?
I'm sure.
Thank you. Sorry
Troy?
Well, we just let her sit there.
Yeah.
Just,
I don't know if we could get, maybe take the mic off.
There are always some questions that we need to linger over, yes or no, or yes or no, or yes or no. Does this have backing, and can we have enough policemen to facilitate this, and can we do this, and we can do that, and blah, blah, blah. And pretty soon we get so confused, we don't know what we're doing. That's only some of us. I know right away what the answer is. We don't allow tethering of dogs. Why? Okay. This is a little love child, supposedly, that you have. And you're putting it in the position of being killed immediately. The moment you take your eye off of that little love child, it can be gone. A bigger dog can come along and one bite to the throat and it's gone. I have a small dog and I know what I'm talking about. Ants, we have them in our environment now. And the red ant and the black tree ant are so prevalent, and there doesn't seem to be anything that can kill them on the dogs. I have seen a dog die right in front of me with about 7 others in the litter, but the fleas attacked one dog. And they were triple on top of each other, killing this dog in its ears, in its mouth, in its eyes. It drove it crazy, and it died a horrible death. It was tethered. It couldn't get away from the nest. Do we really love that dog, or are we just acting as if we had dogs, and so we put them out there for everyone to see? If you love your dog, you don't take your eye off of that dog any more than you do your loved child. Ever. That's the first thing I think of in the morning. The first thing I think of going to sleep at night is my dog. If my dog were stolen, I can imagine all kinds of things that I've seen happen. In the state of California, there was a culture that actually ate dogs, and I would not buy their food any longer because I realized that I could be eating dog meat. People sell dogs to anyone to do anything with medically, to the universities, and they don't really have to account where the dog came from. They don't really want to know. I was doing some research when I was studying psychiatry at UCI, and I went into the medical building quite innocently. The doors were open down a hall, ordinarily closed, saying no admittance. But I had an appointment with the doctor, and I went on in, I saw the most grotesque things happening to the dogs, to other animals, ears, tails, different parts of body parts being grown on different animals. It was so grotesque, I found the bathroom in Upchuck. Even stray dogs are used for this insanity. No one cares. There's a dog out at Walmart that runs around, and everybody knows that dog has been out there for about 3.5 years. And he won't get close to anybody.
Bunny, your 5 minutes are up. Can you wind us?
If you have to think one instant whether this law or this rule or this ordinance is right, and you step aside, I feel sorry for you. I think there's something dreadfully wrong. We have dominion over the animals, which means we take care of them. We don't decide over a long period of time and keep the thing going and going and going and going and going until it keeps just being the same. In one instant, you should know the dogs should be tethered. Not tethered, excuse me.
Thank you, Bunny. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the anti-tether before a vote is made?
My name is Carol Fauster. I live at 1505 South 13th Street, and I'm legally disabled in 2 states, including Kansas. And I'm very exhausted, so tonight, what I lack in eloquence, please try to understand what I'm trying to say. And I am hoping that this evening we will put an end to a lot of suffering by voting for a law that will not have an animal kept in any way, be it indoors or outdoors, a vehicle, that is contrary to its safety and well-being. And this would include, improper tethering for long periods and extreme weather. And also, as our recent spring has shown, we are continuing to have some very rough weather, and the animals can't be out in that in any manner, be they in a fence or on a leash or whatever. We just have to really come to the conclusion that we have some good laws, but our laws are not sufficient as they stand right now to prevent some of the ongoing and continuing problems with animal abuse, loneliness, neglect that we have seen on a daily basis. We have done a lot of research. We have gladly provided. I've worked on doing things I don't have the health to do, because I know that if I don't do it, I can't look myself in the mirror anymore, and I can't go out and listen to their cries anymore. We need to know that there are a lot of long-standing attitudes, ignorance, not understanding how to really care for animals, and just plain meanness, just plain, cruelty on the part of their owners and other people in their area. And these take time to heal, but they don't have time. But what they could benefit by, and what would put my mind at rest, is to go ahead and put a law in order, because a law can go faster than the changing of the attitudes. We want to change the attitudes, but sometimes you have to do the law first. Just like we did with seat belts and helmets and no smoking in place. I can go to a restaurant now and eat, thank God. So they need help. And I think if it's understood that the anti-tethering would also include other basic animal, health needs to be not kept in any way that's harmful to them, and to help law enforcement people know that they are appreciated and that other places are slowly, but they're getting their things taken care of, just like when you have a seatbelt law. There's still a few that'll get passed, but by and by they get smaller and smaller amounts of people that are not using their seatbelts, children are living longer, and so forth. I would also suggest that we assist and support our ACO and allow him to attend some of the free seminars and training courses that they have. They're free, and he could be with other officers that are in the same field as he is. That's very helping to him. It'll be good camaraderie, good exchange of ideas, and kind of, uplift, his daily work. We need to support each other. But the thing is, no matter how any of us feel about this, there's one thing we have to understand. There are two types of citizens in our town here. There are humans and then there are animals. And whatever we feel, the animals are citizens, and they have suffered a great long time. I ask the council to please vote on the side of reason and of mercy. We have received so much, and we are so responsible. Let's not take for granted our gifts from the Lord. And please let's promote the end of the suffering. We can do it times 5. I think we're 5 voting. So how many we have 5 voting? 5 votes might seem small to some, but I'm going to tell you, tomorrow, a lot more than 5 will either be in dire danger and misery, or they'll be freed at last. And I thank you all for all the times you've let me speak to you. I just don't know how else to say it, but it has to be done. And it's 2013, and people are doing it, and they're benefiting by it, and many of those poor animals. God bless them. They really need your help. This is your opportunity to do the right thing, and I thank you for it.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. William Brown, 1716 Chest Avenue. Basically, I'll be honest, I'm not a dog owner. All right, I really haven't owned a dog since I was a teenager, really a young kid. My father got me a poodle, and that was just my dog growing up. So, on the issue, when it doesn't really take personal effect to me. A lot of people who are dog owners, they feel that their dogs are family members, their friends, their companions. They stick with them for the rest of life, so they really care about them. And when they go around communities, they see dogs tether up, and it really kind of gets to them personally. So I understand their personal views, and I understand the personal views of, let's say, our local mailman when they say that they want their dog tethered up before they go and deliver some mail in that area. So that's understandable. But we got to look at the growing times, gentlemen, and that's what we got to really focus on. I mean, right now there's 14 states with anti-tethering laws in some sort. That means the trend is growing, and it means it's going to spread. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen eventually in the future. Something's going to happen. There's 6 communities within the state of Kansas that has it. Majority of them are big communities, but they are listening to their people, and they're starting to make that action, whether it's small or big. Now, you can find that information out there on unchainyourdog.org. Another website, I like to use technology, sorry, gentlemen, but ASPCA, they asked a certain question, basically, would you agree with prohibiting tethering puppies or dogs younger than 6 months? Prohibit tethering a dog who has not been sprayed or neutered. Prohibiting use of a tether that is too short. I agree with that one. Prohibiting using a tether weighing more than the animal reasonably can bear. Prohibiting using collars and halters not properly fitted for restraint of the dog. Prohibiting tethering a dog in a way that poses a risk or injury of strangulation. Prohibiting tethering a dog outside overnight. Restrict the length of time that the animal may be tethered, or even tethering a dog in extreme weathers. Now, Mr. Goddard, one thing we had a conversation about was using the United States military. Well, versus the time you were in the United States military to the time present within the 2000s, I can tell you that the majority of the United States military has a red flag day. Basically, what the red flag day constitutes, basically, if the weather gets too extreme, too hot, they keep their trainees or their military out there from doing any kind of PT work, or even the possibility of going outside during extreme weathers. There's weather advisories telling humans not to go out for long periods of time. So in that case right there, whether you might think of an animal as a creature or a companion or a friend, it's still a living, breathing member of God's green earth. So I will tell you this, when it comes to extreme weathers, we need to really look into that possibility of should there be an ordinance prohibiting that. Now, the police chief actually indicated that manpower is very limited. One question that got arise to me from one of the citizens was basically, during the school year, you have 2 on-duty police officers at the schools, and during the summertime, there's not very clear what they do, basically to assist. I'm not saying going door to door. I brought up the idea, some people brought that idea to me, but let's say in extreme weathers, I mean, the police are driving around and the dog catcher is driving around. If you see a dog out there tethered up and there's an extreme weather advisory, or there's an extreme weather advisory where right now in this point in time, a lot of people are ducking for cover when it comes to tornadoes, wouldn't it not be just right to say, hey, you got your dog out on a leash, you need to put him inside or you're going to get a fine or something on that part? No, let's protect those animals in some case. Like I said, I don't have a personal attachment to it, but common sense is common sense, gentlemen. That's all I can say. Thank you for it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
Patty Finley, 1720 Gabriel. Bunny and Carol just kind of did me in as far as I don't know how you guys can sit there and listen to that and not feel the emotion. I know I talked last time about maybe like the water bill thing. I understand that for some reason it seems like we're in a real big hurry to just get this done. And I know that you feel like you number that do not subscribe to the Parsons Sun. I have talked to people all over town and they're going, what do you mean the anti-tethering law? Because they don't know anything about it. And so what I would just like to suggest is, because I'm willing to do the legwork, if we could get a flyer, if we could have Ross prepare an ordinance, it doesn't have to be the 1 hour on water. It doesn't have to be that specific. Maybe inclement weather, something to start with. If we could get an ordinance and it could be printed up, I will walk the streets of Parsons. I will deliver that door to door along with a flyer that you have approved as far as anti-tethering stuff. I will do it. And then put it on the water bill. Let people give you their input. They voted for you. You know, they want your representation. So this is a chance to show them, hey, we're willing to listen to you. And I am personally willing to get out there and use the gas in my car and the manpower day by day and walk to houses and give them the pieces of paper. That's all I'm asking you is please just let everybody know and know that you're willing to listen to them. That's all I'm asking, but I'm offering to do all that because it's that important. You know, I mean, but the tornado thing, there were dogs that were on tethers when the sirens are going off and everything else. What do you think is going to happen to those dogs if the tornado goes through there? I mean, can you imagine the terror and what would happen if that dog is caught up in a tornado? It's going to have its neck broken. It's going to be choked to death. That's not humane. That's the kind of thing we don't want to have happen. It's the dogs that have nobody to run out and let them in during weather like that. But we want to help. Anyway, I am willing to do whatever you want me to do as far as finding out what people think. Williams had a great idea as far as, you know, get out there, knock on doors, ask people. I'm willing to do that work for you. I just ask that you just give me a chance to do that.
Thank you, Patty. Is there anyone else wanting to speak to the commission on this issue? If not, then I will ask, is there anyone on the board that wants to make a motion to instruct the city attorney to prepare an anti-tethering ordinance?
I will, Mayor. I move that we instruct the city attorney to prepare an anti-tethering ordinance. But I'd like to say a few things here as a result of making that motion. Every time we come here, we get another emotional issue brought up. It's time to get this on the table deal with it, and move forward.
Do I have a second?
I'd second it, and I'd make a comment too, that I know that sometimes tethering is cruel. I'm not sure it's always cruel. I know sometimes tethering is, tethered animals are neglected. I'm not sure they're always neglected. But I am not ready to say no to the possibility of an ordinance regulating tethering, because I do know that there are times it is cruel and that it is neglect. And, I'm just not to the point that I can say, no, we don't want to deal with that issue. So I second it.
Okay.
Commissioner Howland,
No.
Commissioner Goddard,
No.
Commissioner Perez,
No.
Commissioner Shaw,
Well, I'm almost confused here, but I think I'm going to vote yes.
Mayor Chris.
Yes.
No. And on that, I have something to say about this issue. It is kind of related to what Commissioner Gardner has said. This issue is an emotional issue. And this issue is an emotional issue because everyone says this is dog is man's best friend. We do take care of our animals. Most people do. And the reason I voted no was what I have said all along. It isn't a tethering issue. It is a dog owner issue. Plain and simple. That's the only way I can see it. We are fortunate enough, if I said before that we can work towards this anti-tether. I'm not against the anti-tether. But this community is also fortunate to have the bark and Dr. Dudak in it. I can't see us having to pass an ordinance as an anti-tether if we have an organization, the advocacy group as BARK, that is willing to go out and do the legwork that you said, Patty, and see these problems and address the problems with PD, with the ACO officer, with the owners and all that. We start with education. I cannot see throwing a blanket over the whole community, and I don't care, 14 states, 6 in the county, in the state, to me that's mute. We have to start as a community to raise the awareness, to do the education, and work towards the goal we want to achieve. And that is mainly, I wanted everyone to let you know, that is exactly why I voted no against this issue. I don't think it's right to throw regulation after regulation when it all boils down to responsibility of that owner and the community making sure that we as a community, and that's why we are elected, to be the voice of the people that elected us up here, to work towards those goals that are emotional to a lot of people. I'm a dog owner myself. My dog was tethered for a long time, but years ago I built a pen. When bad weather hits, she comes in. When it gets cold, she comes in. It gets too hot, she comes in. She's fed, she's watered, she's walked, everything. But she's not a house dog like most emotional people that view their dogs are. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. I have to do what I think is best for the community, and at this time, I think the BARK program, working towards those people, building the fences, you're doing fundraisers and things like that. You've already said there were 61 dogs that you know of that are tethered. Whether they're tethered right or wrong, I don't know. Short leashes, too choked, I have no idea. But those are things we need to find out. We need to go educate those people, and BARK program, work with ACO and police department and get these issues solved. Work towards the goal, but not blanket it at this point in time. So if there's any other comments that any other commissioners would like to say after that, discussion's over.
I'd like to make a couple comments.
Bill?
The reason I voted no, and I'm going to be very brief here, we already have a cruelty ordinance that covers all dogs, not just tethered dogs. I looked at all the ordinances that I could look at. I could see no way that we could enforce those ordinances. It would just be making an ordinance on top of an ordinance. So those are my two main reasons. Education is still the best way to go about this issue, And to me, it's more of a state issue than a city issue.
I've got one other
Commissioner
comment. It was said here a minute ago that there are two kinds of people. There are humans and there are animals, okay? But there are some people that act like animals. And it doesn't matter whether the dog's tethered in a pen or running free, they just will not treat the animal properly. And the same thing goes with cats. I mean, why restrict it to dogs? I mean, any pet. It should be emphasized that responsible pet ownership is the key to preventing cruelty. And again, the mayor has said with the education program that BARC has and people and PALS, we have to change the attitude without having a law that's going to be ignored. That's all I have to say.
Commissioner Shaw, you got anything to add?
No, I think we probably beat this tethered dog to death, and let's just well move on.
Jeff, would you like to add anything?
I'd love to, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Then we'll move to new business, item B, excuse me, contract for railroad quiet zones.
I apologize for the lateness on this, but I've been on the phone with UP today for quite a while, and late today it kind of came to a conclusion. UP, the UP Signal Division had issued an order for all trains to ignore the quiet zone technology that still works, which is located at Crawford and Appleton. I received some phone calls this morning about the trains and their loud horns, and with that I contacted Matt Krause, who's a local yard master, I think his title is. He is a great guy to work with and very concerned about the impact of not only the horn issue, but other issues with the railroad on our community. He responded via an email and forwarded it to some of the corporate folks. And I was on the phone with Michael Benjamin, who's in charge of this type of work, and got another email from Matt, and they have since decided perhaps they should not ignore the Crawford Street technology, but they will not recognize the Appleton. Of course, you've been told all along, even you new commissioners, if you'll go to their website, you will find a statement that they do not believe that quiet zones add to the safety of an intersection. So the only reason they will work with the community is because the federal government mandates it. So with that said, I asked Mr. Benjamin how we could move this forward to attempt to reduce the amount of honking that we're getting. And the best approach is to do what's called full quiet zone development, which would involve the construction and installation of medians at grade crossings. That will prohibit, when the arms come down, that will prohibit traffic that is stuck from going around the bars. That is a serious issue that they have. In order to do that, there are three procedural requirements that we have to do. That will first require hiring a consultant, and they will have to go through what's called on-site diagnostic review of supplementary safety measures. If you want, you can use their acronym, which is SSMs. Two, they'll have to prepare a notice of intent to tell the railroad that we intend to build these raised medians and develop a full quiet zone. That starts a review process with the railroad. And then the final thing is, once the medians are constructed, if we move that far, then there is one more yet notice of establishment that has to be sent to the railroad so that they can introduce the information to their engines, which are computer driven, and at certain points, mile markers, certain messages come up for the engineer to look at and know whether or not he needs to blow his horn. All of that For the consultant services, which I'm sure there will be more once we get into this, those 3 items are going to cost us $6,250 to have prepared. The thing that you need to understand is that this will end with the culmination of construction of medians at the at-grade crossings. That would be Southern and Crawford for now. Appleton is a little more difficult to deal with because of the construction of additional track that UP is proceeding with. Appleton will eventually get the median development as well, which would create this thing called full quiet zone. They're not required to honk their horns when approaching a full quiet zone. However, citizens have to understand that when a train is sitting still, like they do over in the yard now, or when they're switching and they stop and are going to back up, they are still going to be required, even if you have this full quiet zone, to go through a series of horn honks. That's just federal mandate. There is no way around those. The thing, once they get the construction done, the anticipation is that all that switching that causes a great deal of more horn initiation is going to disappear because the main line will be free and clear. Right now they block the main line when they do this switching, and that requires additional horn activation. But with the construction, there will be a main line that's free and clear all the time. Switching will be done on a new track that's going to go all the way to the county line and through Appleton. So that's where we are. If you want to move forward with that concept, late today, like right at 5 o'clock, we have a a proposed contract from Olson & Associates, who actually has hired a former UP employee that did nothing but work on quiet zones. So we would have the expertise that we need to move through these detailed studies that will take us on closer to actual quiet zone development.
I have 2 or 3 questions. Can I ask those?
Yes.
Marysville and Olathe are the 2 other cities in Kansas I'm aware of that have the same or similar technology to us. Is UP doing the same thing to them?
I can't answer that.
I wonder if they would answer that for us.
We could call the cities and find out.
Yeah.
But as I said, the policy is, and the UP division, let me get my memo to make sure. The signal department does not feel that they are reliable to protect the UP from litigation.
Well, but Marysville has had it almost as long as Parsons has, and Olathe, it's a pretty new development. They spent a lot of money to put quiet zones in place, but I thought they just had the horns and not the medians. But is the real issue that the UP wants to close a bunch of our crossings, and if we close them, then we don't have the horns anymore? And this is some not so subtle arm twisting to get that accomplished. And if they're going to do that anyway, how about if they pay for the median and Southern for the right to close the rest of these crossings? Because if they want to do it, they're going to do it anyway, and we might get something out of it. I think that's
well, a couple things. The actual construction of the medians would not be terribly expensive. There will be expense involved, obviously, because you got to cut the concrete, build a median. To answer your other question, yes, there has been some discussion of wanting to close Crawford Street initially, and eventually, I think, close Appleton. That is not progressing. That is not an issue right this minute. They will tell you, Matt will tell you, that Crawford is the most dangerous intersection he has in his district.
What do you mean close it?
Close it to traffic. There would be no vehicular traffic allowed on Crawford Street.
So the only way to get to the northeast side of town, northwest side of town, would be to go down Main Street and take the side streets, right?
You have 2 underpasses. you have to go a long ways to find another community that has 2 underpasses. Now, we have issues with the underpasses, but
Now, if they decide to close it, the city can't stop them from closing it, is that correct?
we will fight like the devil, but I watched them close, I don't know how many crossings in Bonita, just close them.
And if we spend money for consultants and to build a median, and we do that and they say, nice median, we're closing this street, just
Wasted some money.
so it'd be good to know their intentions, I think.
So they do not have the final plans drawn for this new track extension that they're wanting to do, and that they will, quite frankly, will do. And until we get those, we can't really look at Appleton, because it's physically going to change with the way it's laid out. Crawford, I am told, will not physically change. And those are just some of the issues. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Trying to deal with the railroad company is worse than trying to deal with the federal government. Believe that or not, it is the truth. We just need some direction on where you want to go. We can ask and ask and ask, and we have asked, and you will not get a firm commitment about leaving Crawford open and leaving Appleton open.
Could we check with, could staff check with Marysville and Olathe, but particularly Marysville, because they're more our size, and it'd be real interesting to see what the status of their relationship is with the railroad.
But there's many train towns that I've recently discovered, and we're one of the newest ones. Surely there's a precedent or some lessons learned that we can understand and draw from, I would think, isn't there?
We always hope so, but Ross can tell you how hard to deal with. You know, we've negotiated the sale of a tiny amount of land to them to help them with this track extension, and have we seen the contract yet to get that done? So they're, you know, and at one point they were trying to move as fast as lightning, and now it's, you know, so they're just difficult to deal with. The full quiet zone development will help alleviate some of the horn activation. It will not alleviate 100% of it.
To build the medians, didn't we look at that, and that was something like, was it like $20,000 or $30,000 per intersection to do that?
It could be, Daryl's not here and I don't remember his numbers, but it is simply building a median. But yeah, it could approach that. Crawford is going to be more of a challenge because they do have design standards that you have to meet. And that's what some of this study would show us as to whether or not we're going to be able to meet their criteria. We had simply taken aerial photos and scaled it and shown the installation of medians, and it appears to us that it will work. It is going to be a change for the local citizens because once you're in the lineup, you're there.
Can't get out.
Until that arm moves. So, and we've talked about if you do it at Southern, we need to put a light out at the highway that would come on red, for example, that the train track is, you know, there's a train crossing, so the crossing is closed. We don't want travelers to get back in there, local traffic or out-of-town traffic, and realize that they're in a curved area, and so they're stuck. We've had a lot of discussions with them, but today it kind of came to a head, and this is where we are.
If I remember right, Tom, I think that all three of those median projects, I think they gave us a bid of 45 to 60. They weren't sure because they weren't sure on the specs.
Yeah,
as for how long and how wide, and that's the first time I heard about the light at the southern end of it. But it feels like you're almost getting strong-armed. But some communication is better than none, so I would like to see us at least move forward to see what we can do. If we have to do these studies, these three things to get this ball rolling, at least keep the communication line open, I think that would be a good thing. we're told we're going to have to do something, railroad versus federal government, we're going to lose anyway. The citizens want the quiet zones. We worked really hard to get the southern end of it done, but now more issues are coming up, so.
Well, I understand, we still have the insurance issue that we're gonna have to contend with, even
Right.
with these full quiet zones. And that may become the straw that breaks our back, and it becomes too expensive to maintain. Because if you'll recall, the insurance for Southern Boulevard was just an astronomical number. So that's why we've backed away from Southern in terms of the actual horn and the strobe light and the electronics that make it work.
Eventually, would we have 3 intersections we need to do this with? The
Well, that's-
Southern, Crawford, and
Appleton.
and Appleton?
And that's part of the issue with Appleton. We don't believe they're gonna get out of the right-of-way, because they're not trying to buy land there, if I remember right. And Derek, you remember the layout? I think we're within the configuration, so that we won't have to install 2 quiet zone equipments. If we go back with the horns, and a median system would work for both tracks. But, there are issues, and we can't go anywhere unless we do these 3 studies.
I can just imagine how noisy it is along the intersections when a train comes through, because on the western side of town, I've noticed here lately, I mean, you can really hear the train horns.
Well, then, we've had a discussion too, the Fire Commission Board was, well, we had Commissioner Barnett, they're mandated by how they should operate at each individual. Some will blow it 3 times, some will blow it 15. It's all according to who that operator is, so it's...
Obviously, we've been dealing with this situation a long
A
time,
long time.
and it's probably time to move forward with it.
So our options with the engineering part of it again, what would that be?
We could contract with Olson and Associates, who actually has an expert in the field as part of their staff, and we would get the required reports that we need to move forward with. That would get us to a review process that would force UP to respond as to whether or not they're going to allow us to install full quiet zones.
Quiet zones.
And how much would that cost?
$6,250.
For all of the intersections, or?
My understanding is that will be for all of them, but Appleton will be a little bit up in the air because of this construction that potentially is going to go on now. The Appleton construction is not scheduled for another year yet. So, but as I said, they are supposed to be upgrading their computers now to make the engineers respect quiet zone technology at Crawford, but they will not reactivate it at Appleton. So we're still gonna have horns blowing.
It's a rock and a hard place, Tom.
I believe that is going to make us all very happy to see those crossings close, won't it? That's the whole purpose behind that.
That's
God bless.
strong arm.
Funding from the general fund?
2 out of the 4.
Chances are we're gonna borrow some of this from the UP fund, the interest, and I will budget a repayment back, because we have always tried to maintain the UP fund at its strength.
As far as the 6250, it would come out of the UP fund. Do we need to make a motion on that, or do we just instruct you to?
Since we have
Move forward.
since we have a contract, a proposed contract, we'll need authority for
the board?
Yeah.
Would someone like to make a motion to move this forward?
Yeah, I move that we move forward with this,
Quiet
with
zone.
consultants and the 6250 to study this.
I second.
Commissioner Hubble?
Yes.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Can we know for sure how many crossings that study's gonna be?
I'm sure they're gonna study all 3 of them.
Okay.
There's actually 4 zones, because there's 2 at Crawford.
Okay.
One at Appleton and one at Southern. One at Southern has been inoperable for 18 months.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Chris?
Yes.
One more comment, Commissioner Shaw, I believe Olathe spent $50+ million on their quiet zone.
They'd be unhappy to have them disregarded, that wouldn't they? Disappointment.
Moving on. Item 7, resolutions. Resolution number 3190, board up structures, 2401 Morgan, 1419 Corning, and 1500 Crawford. Authorize the mayor's signature on the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hopwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Cruz?
Yes. Item 8, report to communications, departmental reports, April 2013, receive and file.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hopwood?
Yes.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Cruz?
Yes. Item 9 is public comment. Anyone would like to speak to the commission, please come to the podium, state their name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
William Brown, 1716 Chest. I just love talking to Jim if you can and tell us if I can't get you at Walmart or at the gas station or walking out to your car at the home show, believe me, at least kind of catch you all here. So that's the reason why I like coming up here. My last public comment, of course, is I've been doing some research, and it is no cost, gentlemen. And I need to know why you guys don't want to do it, but video streaming of these commission meetings. As you can tell, there are a lot of interested people in what's going on. And I know you have your own personal views and agendas, and a lot of you might say yes or no on it. But USD 503 broadcast airs on Ustream. Now, when it comes to cost, there's only 2 costs that you can deal with, is whether you want to have advertising or no advertising during your meetings. If it's no advertising, it's not going to cost you anything. The only thing you have to do is probably talk to Matt to see if they have any laptops up there with the camera, and it's simply broadcasted. You don't have to have it for long periods of time, but just enough that someone can actually look and see what's going on within their city government. If you want people to get active within their community, because believe me, I've been working on it for about 6 months now, and it's very hard to get a lot of people active. There's a lot of people that's so passionate and say something on Facebook, or they see you in the street, but a lot of people don't get active. The number one way to get active is to get knowledgeable what's going on within the city. So having those things broadcast on the internet, available to the public, might be a good thing. Might get people to spur a little bit more interest in the community and stop the things that you guys want them to stop. But you got to have education, right? So education key is not just hearing or not just reading, but actually seeing.
Commissioner Shaw.
With the idea that you're proposing, you just going to have a single camera on the...
You can have a single camera or multiple cameras, whichever way you choose. But Jim Zaleski, he used that forum during our debates, in which I enjoyed. I watched it numerously, and you can have different ways to do it. Where there's a camera that spans across, whichever way you put it right here. You can put one that's mounted up there, or just put right down here in the single aisle. Because a lot of people don't walk down this way; they walk around and they come around this way.
I favor broadcasting the meetings, but that wouldn't be at no cost then, because all these cameras.
Well, it depends on what you got in stock, but if we're talking about spending $30,000 per median on railroad crossing, a couple of $1,000s for a camera to be more transparent with the citizens shouldn't be that big of an issue.
Well, let's just keep to the issue.
Okay, I'm
Thank you.
sorry, but yeah, that's just my own personal view on that. We're getting ready to discuss the budget, so I think that would probably be something to discuss.
Something that... Bill?
I'd just like to make a comment. We addressed this issue in the past year. It was not even close to being free, for one thing, and we could not find enough public support for a second thing. So, it was a dead issue then. I think it's a dead issue now.
Well, just like Patty says, you know, I have no problem with doing all the legwork and going door to door. If you said that you couldn't get enough support, I'll get enough support. And if you require me to have a whole room full of people that's so much that people cannot sit down, I'll get out there and get it. If that's not improvement.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make one comment here. You know, we can do the videoing, we can do ordinances, but the question has to be asked, what are you burdening the taxpayers with? Every time we do something, there's a cost involved. And we have to be very cognizant of the fact that we have a deficit in terms of what we need to do compared with the revenue sources that we have.
I can say things, but I won't do it.
We got a lot of people in our communities wanting to do some legwork, and that's what we need is the volunteers in the community. That's one thing that we do lack as a community. So I guess I would put forth to you, if you're willing to do the legwork, and you must be specific on this as far as what the cost would be and everything else.
Okay.
The last time you done legwork and you brought to the board, to me, they were skewed, and the reason I say they were skewed was because I seen no signatures. I have to take your word for it.
I understand.
So if this was going to be, if you're going to walk something, it needs to be in a petition form. I'd like to see signatures, and I'd like to see specific question that was asked. But that's my personal. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not totally for the broadcasting of the meetings, but
No. If the question is about money and buying the equipment,
that's the biggest thing.
if I can get enough funds to raise the funds where the city doesn't even have to spend money on the cameras or anything, like I said, broadcasting over Ustream doesn't have any cost. Is that a possibility as well?
I'm just one of 5, so but I have questions, Commissioner Shaw.
I have a question really for the city attorney. If a citizen wanted to be here at a meeting and film what's going on and put it on YouTube, is there any reason they couldn't do that?
As long as they're not disruptive to the proceedings of the meeting themselves, we really can't prohibit something like that from happening.
I've seen other commission meetings that have been broadcast, and they're stationary cameras. They only show the city commissioner, city council, or county commissioner, council. They don't play and pan to the audience for someone who wants to make a statement, et cetera, et cetera. So I would think if there's going to be a filming, that it would film the commission, the audio portion of it would be available.
Lawrence, Kansas.
Excuse me?
Lawrence spans and shows the people at the podium and the people waiting on line on the podium. Also, it spans because the city manager is actually located right here, where the city commissioners are seated right there. All city staff are posted behind this section over here, which each of their laptops. I actually had a conversation with a lot of commissioners, and that's how they put their form. They all have laptops up front, and the camera points directly at this person right here who's speaking and the people behind them, and then it shows the camera of all the city staff, and then spans back to the commissioners in each individual reaction.
This is a new board, but as Commissioner Hoagland said, that all these questions were asked probably a year ago, but Commissioner Perez has a question.
I don't have a question. I have a comment to make about it, though. I strongly feel that there's too much dialogue that's missed on a television. It's a one-way form of communication. And what I like about being on this commission and sitting amongst the citizens is I can look you in the eye and I see and I can hear what you have to say. I get it out of your body language. The same thing with Carol and Patty. I see your passion on what you have. You miss that on a television. I mean, it's just like Facebook. It's a one-way form of communication. And I think that part of the fundamentals of running city government, it's community interjection. And that's what I like being about a city commissioner, is I get to talk to people. I get to listen to what they have to say. And I tell you, when I see it on a television or on Facebook or on YouTube, it's a one-way conversation. And I don't like that.
The idea of the video streaming is not for the commissioners to view towards the public, but for the public to view them individually and see reactions, understand where their gestures are. The same thing when you look at C-SPAN or you look at any government broadcast. And just think of our United States government didn't do it. That's all I'm going to ask you, that gentleman right there. So that's my biggest thing.
This I will tell you, the board is going to meet here at some time, probably shortly. I won't give you a date, I'll let everyone know that. But I've instructed the board to come down, sit a retreat, and sit down and talk some priorities and things. When we do that, I will bring this up for discussion with the board. Instead of doing it here I will let you know I will do that. So,
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
You're more than welcome. Carol? Yes.
I'm Carol Foster, on 205 South 13th. On the train situation, I've had people that I've known in my life that worked on trains, and if it makes noise, I lived near the one near Crawford, I lived on one over here by Southern. Just letting you know that that's a safety thing. We have a lot of people I find still going in and out, and people who are maybe with their loud things going and the phones in the ear. If it blasts their ears and it saves their lives or their children, it's still a safety thing, so just pass along. I don't mind the noise. I can wait a few seconds. In fact, it makes me feel secure. And I know the engineer is thinking, please, So just to pass on that. And my second question is, you mentioned that we would be allowed as groups to promote animal well-being and so forth. Will there be something that we can have, that we will have that sort of empowerment so that people, when we show up, think we're crazy or something? Is there somehow that we'll be empowered to go as groups to do the re-education? How is the plan? Let us know, please.
Well, and that's a good question. I would think that
We're not gonna be able to empower people to go to people's houses. They can go knock on the front door, but if the people tell you, I don't want you to see my dog, or you need to leave, that group would need to leave, obviously. We can't give anybody the authority.
Right.
We don't even have the authority to go into a house to look at a dog unless we have a search warrant, unless the owner volunteers that. So we would have no ability to empower any group like that.
And that I understand. I just thought, since we've mentioned that as a way of, approaching the problem, if you could let us know how we can work with our, law enforcement. So, just what it is we can do and what our abilities and limitations might be would be helpful. Because I have law enforcement family. I think the last thing I'd do is sit there with someone's door and go things the wrong way. But I think if this is going to be a project allowed to kind of get things going into a happier community for these animals, kind of to let us know, and if we can work with everyone, let us kind of have some guidelines and help with that.
that was my next thing. Carol, if you would allow me, give me a few days and I'll sit down with Chief Ross and City Manager and see if we can't work out some specific guidelines as to how BART should interact with the community, should we say.
And other interested things. And the one thing I would ask too, I feel that I know my own personal self, I did a lot of research to bring in just the facts, man, as much as I could. Spiritually, I feel things very deeply, but I wanted to say that when we were called emotional people, that was kind of, that was a little, that was maybe not really to the reality of our, of what we were. If I present myself in an emotional way, I hope I apologize for that. I don't see myself as that. I feel myself very sincere about a problem that is so dire, and people who live next door to people who do hurt their animals. If they get up here and they act a little emotional, well, who wouldn't? If you had a day by day, hour after every storm that came up, and heat, whatever, witness these things. And as a vet who finally just can't take any more of the horrors they've seen, if they appear a little emotional, please don't say emotional people, but that was kind of a little bit low dumping, and I don't normally say anything, but I must say to you now, I don't want to walk out here and not address that. We are good citizens that see a need, and if we have, like you say, a little bit of passion toward it, it's because the suffering is so intense. And I don't see myself as an emotional person. I could have gotten whatever, and it takes all out of me to come and speak to you because I don't have the help for it. But please, maybe not to just, please don't do that to us. I always try to treat you with as much respect, bring you the facts, do the best I can. Like I said, asking for guidelines, glad to do it. And I ask that you do that for us too. Thank you.
Carol, if I said emotional, I do apologize. I kind of went along the same line as passionate. It kind of works in, so emotional might not have been the correct choice of words, but if I did say that, I meant as passion.
There were a couple other gentlemen that said the kind of similar thing, and I thought that they can clear that up. It's just as the need and the relief of the animals improve, I I think you'll find us not quite as, anyway, thank you for doing that. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Can I
Carol.
make a comment here?
Yes.
I got a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think if you talked with the newspaper, that you could run a regular column in there that talks about, you know, animal care and pet owner responsibilities and those kinds of things. Again, that's not going to reach everybody. But if you want to put a couple of bucks behind it and get radio spots on KLKC, you know, you can still do your flyers and take it around the people. There's nothing wrong. You don't need any empowerment to do that.
Right. We already have got that in the works, and I'll give one of the one on I call Animal 101. One of our gentlemen that complains the most, thinks they know about animals, and that's one of the most horrific sight on 32nd Street. And I'm like, oh my, so we have a lot of Animal 101 to do, and I'm looking forward to them. When I things, when I put things in the paper, I try to make it as, you know, reasonable, but helpful to the folks, and we are going to be doing that as much as we can. We've already talked to them, we already have the permission of the paper to do so, and we're looking to do that. And if everyone's good health, maybe we won't have to cringe next time the tornado sirens go off, you know, or those horrible storms hit our heads. That's why we go, you know. Makes it good. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Carol.
Patty Finley, 1720 Gabriel. I just wanted to say that when Midge was here from the Humane Society of the United States, we met at the police station, and Lieutenant Stout was really gracious and kind to deal with us because he wasn't aware he was going to have to. But one of the things he suggested, because he said, you know, a lot of the officers may not know all the ordinances. We don't know all the ordinances. And then we could all get together, and maybe when that happens, maybe you all could come and join us too. And so we're all on the same page. We all know what can be enforced and what can't, or whatever. So we do want to work with the police department, and we're hoping to get that done. But we'd feel really good if you wanted to join us too.
Patty, if you would let us know, or let all the commissioners know when your BARC organizations meet and things like that, and give us the option to attend, I don't have a problem with that.
That would be great. Okay. Are you talking about just regular BARC meetings?
Yeah, did meetings or anything that might come up, you know, you got your fundraiser coming up and things like that, so, yeah, just keep us, yeah, right, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, as soon as this meeting's over, we're meeting over at Kitchen Pass.
Good for me.
I just asked Mr. Albertini about ordinances, and I believe the ordinances are posted on the city website.
They are.
It should be. That's where I see them.
I mean, they're all there for the public to view.
I know they spend hours and hours and hours on training, so please don't think that our officers don't know what the local laws are.
Dan Winchell, 1405 Belmont. I want to speak about the video deal. I honestly think that it's not a good idea. And I mean, when we can only get 10 to 15% of people out to vote in the general elections, people who are interested do come here, and people who can't get here, I'll bet none of you commissioners have ever got a call saying, I'd like to come to a commission, can you help me get there? And I know if people would call and say, I'd like to come to a commission meeting, will you help me get there? I mean, we can, you know, the group here that's here regularly, we take the time to come down and support, and I think the people that don't come and at all that come, don't come because they don't really have the interest, so putting it on the TV isn't going to get anybody more to watch it. And people who don't show up, you know, if they want to show up and be here for a commission meeting, fine, but when they won't even come out to vote, when we have such low voting totals, I don't see what we're going to change by putting it on the video. Plus, you're going to have to pay someone to run those cameras, regardless of what Mr. Brown says. As being a former school board member who had those cameras, I saw all the people working in the audience that were keeping those cameras moving. It's not just simple, put it up on the wall and walk away and leave it alone either. It all has to be operated by technicians. Not necessarily really expensive, but it does have to be if he'd come to a school board meeting, which I've never seen him at one, he might see exactly what goes into the control room and all that goes into that there.
Thank you, David.
David Larson, 1602 Linwood. If the UP is going to put enough room to start switching again and building big trains, and we go ahead and put these silent system in, what I wanted to know was they start really building them back in Katie's heyday when they were building trains. Are we going to add more to it? Are we going to spend the money for these silent systems and just spend it and then have all those horns blowing too?
That's a decision that's probably going to have to be made, but
Do we have to spend the $6,000 some odd dollars? Could we have somebody from UP? I mean, I think you talked to somebody back when Katie, back in the 70s or 80s, or back when you were a kid, maybe Kevin, how busy the crossing was down there building trains, and they're going to add another all the way to the county line to Appleton. So what kind of trains are they going to build? I mean, before, I know you have to spend $6,000, but I think it might be possible that you get somebody from UP to come there to tell us what kind of trains they're going to build to spend all that money without paying it.
Well,
it's just a question.
Yes.
Let me clarify that. They're not, Dave, what they're doing is putting train cars together to make a train.
Right. They're switching.
They need a rather long stretch to be able to do that, because I think most train, and I'm not a train person, but I think most of them have 125 cars now, plus the locomotives, and that takes a lot of room to put them together to make a train.
Right.
And right now, they're doing it in very short pieces, because they just don't physically have the room, so they're having to shut down the main line to be able to do that, and that's what's causing all the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They've effectively closed Crawford if you stop and watch it during the day. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. This isn't, even though the required review day is only, or days is only 60 days to comment. Benjamin told me today we're a year away from this, so there's still lots of things that are going to happen.
Thank you, David.
I have one last comment, please.
Carol?
About the video. There are a lot of us that are shut-in, so during cold and flu season, I don't get to go to church or anything at home, and I know that they have these wonderful broadcasts from the different churches, so that I get to watch on the, public access channel we have for the city. You can see the Presbyterians or the Methodists or Catholic services and things, and that's a blessing. I have a neighbor across the way, Mrs. Miller, who's really home down. She didn't come out to her yard. So there are a lot of us who might enjoy maybe something simply done, but maybe once in a while to broadcast and occasional for us shut-ins. I've come through some of these, and it's been, like today, 2 naps and about 2 or 3 hours apiece, and a lot of whatever. But I know there are times I can't come, and a lot of people who would come if they could. It's not that they're not interested or they don't make the effort, it's just that sometimes they can't. So it's a thought for the future that, for like the ones who get to watch the church programs, that's a blessing. Anytime I can see something that I can't go to in a few months because the cold flu is very long, or just by health, that's just a thought that there may be some that would be so grateful to catch a couple meetings. So.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else? Thank you, Jim.
Another question. It sounds to me like you said no to tethering.
The tethering.
And I agree with this lady that I volunteer to help her, on the other side.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Anyone else? That concludes public comment then. We'll move on to staff comment.
I'd like the chief to talk about the Cablevision system for storm notification. We had some things going on with it, so.
I guess we've had several complaints that when we go to set up the sirens and we do the warnings, that there is no voice over Cablevision and the warnings don't come across. We've been working with Cablevision now for approximately a year to try to correct this situation, and there's technology problems and so on. However, throughout the next week, we will be working with them, and there will be intermittent interruptions and things of that nature while we get this situation fixed and hopefully finalized this week. So,
has that been going on here recently? I mean, as far as...
Sure. Every time we test our sirens, we try to have tried to put out a basically where we get on there and actually tell the public that this is a test and so on and so forth. There's been some issues with the digital equipment that they now have, and so we are hoping that we can get that fixed.
Late last week, I can't remember what day it was, my TV actually went blank and nothing come on, but on my cable box, it come EAS, which is Emergency Alert System, so when that comes on...
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
We're trying to put out an emergency alert from the police department, and it's not working at this moment.
Okay. Chief, does anybody know the percentage of people in Parsons that have cable?
I don't. It's not a great number.
Okay. Because a lot of people don't, they like Dish or Direct TV or something.
Exactly.
I have a question about the warnings. Does the KOKC...
They are not manned. They're not manned in the evenings any longer and at night. So it's we had worked out a system with them at one point where they were going to come up if we have emergencies, and I think that was actually willing to come to the station. That's been a couple of years ago now that we talked about that. I don't think that's kind of hard for them to do because by the time we notify them and get them up there, then. But yeah, that was an option at one point, but it's kind of tough now.
Any other staff comments?
We're still working hard on budgets, so if you have any input, please. We'll start.
What would be the best way for you to get that input? Just come up at lunch?
Face-to-face at lunch, or emails, or however you would like to, however and wherever you'd like to meet. So we just need your input. It's a major undertaking, but we're still waiting for information from the county. We're kind of at a standstill until we get that information. But we have lots of data and lots of things to share. Of course, you've been getting some information along the way. If you have any questions at all on that, please let me know.
Any other? Item 11, City Commission comments. Commissioner Shaw?
No, nothing right now. Thanks.
Commissioner Perez?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Hoagland?
I got a couple of things. First, with all the rain, I was concerned about the dam project. Could you just give us a status report?
We had a phone conference with the engineer early this morning, and we too had concerns, particularly with the forecast that we were looking at Friday night. But the contractor had gone ahead and put dirt back into where they had excavated to a certain elevation and lined it with plastic and put sandbags on it to prevent wave action. We think we have a handle on it. We certainly are praying that we don't get a whole lot more rain, to be honest with you. But the engineer is working with the construction company. They just need to hurry up and get this thing done.
That's going to be my next question. Do we have any idea how much longer?
They have until August, end of August, to get it done.
Good question. There's one more. Commissioner Goddard? Oh, excuse me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just have one final comment. I'm just speaking for me personally, but when these people come before the commission, I do as much research as I possibly can before I cast my vote. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Goddard?
No comment.
On the brighter note of UP, During Katy Days, the commission was presented with a board, Draintown USA, that you can see behind Debbie and Commissioner Shaw here, which was presented. And also, if you would like to come up and look, they also presented us with a medal. And we haven't decided where this is going to go yet, because this is pretty nice. So if you would like to, after the meeting, come up and view this. This is really a nice coin that they've presented us. And other than that, that's all I have. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes.
Commissioner Perez?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Mayor Curtis?
Yes.
That's right. Catch them off guard.